Hello all, LC Holt here, and this is my update for the week of April the 15th. Today, we have a very interesting show for you. We're going to be discussing the topic of cryptids. And all of you, I'm sure, know what a cryptid is. It's a creature, a mythical creature that supposedly exists. And we're going to show you some pictures of people who claim that they caught these cryptids on camera. Who is we? Well, of course, it's me and Zach Myers. Zach, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going, LC? Ready for some scary stories?
I am. And now you're scaring me right now.
I scare myself too. That's why I don't have mirrors in my house.
It's sort of a Unabomber thing you got going. You just need the glasses.
Oh, totally. Totally. Rock that. The big old bug glasses. I need that.
So you want to jump into this cryptids thing?
Let's do it.
I did a lot of research on some cryptids. And the first one we're starting out with is probably the most famous of all of them. So let's hit the ground running. But I've decided to start by showing you all a photograph that alleges to capture this particular cryptid in flight. Ready to see the picture?
Do it.
Now that is supposedly a photograph of the Mothman. The Mothman. So, looking at that photograph, Zach, what do you see? Do you see a man in flight with 10-foot wingspan?
It kind of looks like the Archangel from X-Men.
You know, it sort of does, actually. It could be him, actually. Okay, so there's that. So there's that picture. Now we're going to talk about the story. Okay, so Point Pleasant, Virginia, November 12th, 1966. 5 men are digging a grave in the dead of night. This story is obviously starting off very creepy, you know, because when you first see the Mothman, you need to be digging a grave, dead of night. Suddenly, a creature flies over their heads and the trees. Let me tell you about this creature. 6 foot tall, they say. Enormous wings. Gray skin, possibly brown. Red eyes like bicycle reflectors. Long arms tipped in talons. This, my friends, is the description of the Mothman. So what do you think about that, Zach?
Well, first off, I think you should read stories for children, and you have so much personality. It's awesome. No, I think it's pretty creepy.
It is creepy. And this is not the first sighting of this creature in the year of 1966, the year of our Lord. It is actually just the first of many sightings in 1966. And I'll tell you about another one that was pretty famous in November of that year, November 15th. There was 2 couples. That's 4 people. You got Roger and Linda Scarberry, or Scarberry, I'm not quite sure. And then you have Steve and Mary Mallet. And they're driving. And they're driving along in Virginia. And suddenly, their car headlights catch on 2 gleaming red eyes. And then this thing takes off. And it flies into the darkened heavens. And they swear that this thing was the Mothman.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, there were actually other ones. Those are the 2 that's most famous. That picture I showed you was actually captured in 2016. So that's a fairly recent picture. And it was broadcast on a local television station. Prior to that, there were not very many sightings of the Mothman that actually had, a picture that went along with it. It's interesting, though. A lot of people have tried to explain this. There is the Mason County Sheriff, who was George Johnson. Very, strong man name. And he said that he thought that the Mothman was actually a crane he referred to as a shite poke. I don't know what a shite poke is, but he says
That
it's
sounds
a,
like something you get packed in prison.
yeah, I don't know about this shite poke thing. Okay, I tend to agree with it with another fellow who actually said that he thought that the Mothman was a large crane called a let's see, what was that called? It was called a sand hill crane, and those things they're not indigenous to that area of Virginia. So if it showed up there, it just, flew, it like migrated a different way or something. But those cranes are as big as a man, and they actually do have red coloration around the eyes. So when you see the red eyes, maybe that's what you're seeing is the red coloration. Um, the picture that I showed you earlier, I think could actually just be a bird carrying a snake. But maybe it's one of these sandhill cranes. I don't know. Or maybe it's the shit poke. Pardon me, shite poke. But there is kind of a serious aspect to this Mothman story. If any of you have seen the movie, The Mothman Prophecies, which is actually based on a book, loosely based on a book by a guy named John Keel, it talks about the alleged connection between the Mothman and a very real event that happened in the area, which was the collapse on December 15th, 1967 of the Silver Bridge, which resulted in the death of 46 people. Now, what John Keel claims, and the Richard Gere movie kind of goes along with this too, is that the Mothman somehow is a supernatural entity that harbingers death. It's somehow some sort of a bad omen. When you see the Mothman, that means something horrible is about to happen. It's basically like the angel of death. Now, that being said, it makes it sound very ominous. The people of Point Pleasant don't really view it so ominously anymore, because if you go to Point Pleasant, you can buy at a certain time of year, I think it's in September, they have the Mothman Festival. And you can go buy figurines, you can buy t-shirts, you can buy pizzas with the Mothman's face on it. You can buy all kinds of stuff. So in Point Pleasant, this awful harbinger of death is actually a harbinger of good commerce. There's a statue in Point Pleasant that's kind of comical to look at of the Mothman with large eyes and wings that look tattered. So they've turned it into, it's a local legend that's been turned into a point of pride for the town and a source of income, which there's nothing wrong with that. And, obviously, if the Mothman was responsible for the deaths of people, that would be a horrible thing to do. But since I think the Mothman doesn't actually exist, I don't see any reason why they can't profit off of, their town's claim to fame. What do you think, Zach?
Well, I never heard the crane story, which makes a lot of sense actually. But yeah, there's not enough evidence to prove that the Mothman actually exists. I mean, all towns have their urban legends, and all towns have their stories. I mean, where I'm at in Arizona, aliens are a big thing. Everybody claims that aliens come and abduct people and stuff, and so we try to make a lot of money off tourists for that. So I mean, good for them for finding a way to make some money off of that. But no, I never heard the crane story, so that actually makes a lot of sense to me. I'm gonna think it's the prison shank crane.
Isn't in Arizona, wasn't the Phoenix Lights? Isn't that one of their thing where the UFO appeared over the city supposedly? And
yeah.
Or am I thinking about a different town?
No. That did happen, and the whole movie that they made, Fire in the Sky, was supposed to take place here in Arizona. So aliens, they love a whole empty desert. I have no idea why. This place is not interesting, but yeah, every town has it. So good for them for viewing it differently and making some cash off it.
Yeah, and I bet those pizzas are mighty tasty. But
yeah, we don't have aliens.
Well, we should probably do a show one day about aliens. But because there's so many things you could actually go into about the alien phenomenon. But I don't want to get off onto that subject because we have three other creatures that we need to talk about. My opinion of the Mothman, if we want to give the verdict at the end of each story, I would say no. I don't believe there's such a thing as a Mothman, but it's a cool idea. What do you think? Yay or nay, Zach, on Mothman?
I'm gonna say nay.
Okay, so we got two nays on the Mothman. One of the nays.
You have to say, everyone, all the viewers, you should let us know what you think.
Absolutely. And also, if you've seen the Mothman, tell me your story. Show me your picture. All right. But putting the Mothman aside, we're going to boogie on over to another place in Virginia. I'm going to show you a picture of a specific place in a specific town. And there is a story about this place. So here we go. I'm going to show it to you right now.
There it is.
There it is. What is this place known for?
Well, this is a famous bridge in Fairfax, Virginia. And I'm not going to Virginia, by the way. Too many bad things.
I'll tell you, they have all kinds of things flying around there.
And this is the story of the Bunny Man.
The Bunny Man.
Dun, 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 the Bunny Man. Now,
so let's hear about the Bunny Man.
A long time ago in Fairfax, there supposedly was a mental hospital. Now, before I go into this, I want to say that there's plenty of the story has changed so many times over the years, and this is the original story. This is supposedly the supposed true story that the people in Fairfax actually believe. So supposedly there was a mental hospital, and it was for the criminally insane.
Of course.
And of course, what other ones are there? And the town had to shut down. So after it got shut down, all the prisoners, all the inmates, had to be transferred elsewhere. Well, on the way to being transferred, supposedly the bus crashed, and everyone, including the bus driver, died except for 5 inmates.
So it's sort of like that scene in the new Halloween.
Yes. I think Michael Myers is the Bunny Man. So they looked for everyone. They finally got 4 prisoners, but 1. This individual, I don't know a name because the name changes so often, and I don't want to sell anyone short and give you wrong information. But this prisoner apparently was locked up for murdering his entire family on Easter.
Oh dear.
And he dressed up as a bunny as he did it. So they locked him up. Now, when they were looking for this prisoner, and they couldn't find him anywhere, they kept finding dead rabbits hanging from trees, torn apart. Oh. And then they started finding they found 2 human beings hung the exact same way as the rabbits were hung. Now, the police finally found this individual and chased him down. He ran across a train track or alongside a train track. When he went to go across it, he was hit by a train. Well, the cops claim that right after he was hit, they heard an hysterical laughter coming from nowhere. Now, this happened right above that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So so the legend has it that if you're a couple or just in general, they mention couples a lot in the stories because I guess that's just scarier, because who wants to really go and get some and then be killed by a guy in a bunny suit? That's just not fun.
That would really ruin the date.
Yeah, totally. Unless you just have a freak that's into that, but I don't. You don't want to know her. And so yeah, apparently people have seen this bunny man. We don't have any photos because the few photos that I happened to come across were ruled out that they were fake. So I don't want to sell any one of you guys short and give you wrong information, but this is the story of the legendary Bunny Man, and he kills people with an axe.
Ah, which is something bunnies are not known to do.
The bunnies in Arizona do.
I like that this guy has like a theme, you know, he killed his family on Easter, probably during an Easter egg hunt. And did he do it with an axe? Is that where that part of the story comes from?
Yes, I think I forgot to mention that he murdered his family with an axe.
And then he was running beside the train tracks and he got hit by a train and they heard a scream and the scream sounded a lot like a bunny's laugh.
Like a bunny's laugh. Now, what makes me curious is, okay, I can see all that happening. I really can. But if he escaped into the woods and they couldn't find him for a long time, where the fuck did the axe come from?
That's interesting. That's sort of like a Jason Voorhees type thing. Like, where did his clothes come from?
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, when he was arrested and he wasn't wearing a bunny suit. So when we supposedly see his ghost and he's wearing a bunny costume, okay, well, where the fuck does the bunny costume come from? And where does the fucking axe come from? So again, if you're going to do a ruling at the end of each story, I'm going to say the Bunny Man is fake. It's an A. I don't believe it. I think there's too many flaws, and there's not even we can't even find proof that of the inmate's name.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, yeah, not finding the name is always a pretty big sign that it's bullshit. But you have that thing where I'm sure there are people who dress in bunny costumes with an axe that probably go out and terrify folks. You know, it's sort of like the clown epidemic that happened a few years back when that was fun. Everybody dressed up like clowns and went out to the side of the road and like ran at your car. It's amazing more clowns didn't get shot.
Actually, in Virginia, I think it was an 18 or 19-year-old kid thought it would be funny to scare a couple. Well, not realizing that the guy owned a gun, and he blew the fucking kid away. To find out that it was not the Bunny Man, it was just a kid pulling a prank, but he was shot.
Oh, well, there you go. That's usually what happens when you try to pull pranks. I was curious if you were talking about a Bunny Man prank or a clown prank.
Oh, I'm sorry, a Bunny Man prank. He dressed up under the bridge as the Bunny Man, and it wasn't even a fake axe. He actually had an axe in his hand, and he was dragging it along the bridge. Well, apparently the guy supposedly gave him a warning, like, you know, get the fuck out of here, like, and he started running towards him, and the guy pulled a gun out and shot him and killed the kid. And so, life lesson: don't go under bridges and dress like bunnies. You might get shot.
Yeah, and definitely don't carry axes, because you know a cop sees you with an axe and he thinks that's, you know, what it is, a potentially deadly weapon, and you're liable to get shot. It's better to get tased, but you're liable to get shot. Maybe especially in Virginia. I probably shouldn't say that. I don't mean you'd be shot more likely in Virginia, but I know a lot of people where I come from, which is also down south, would probably shoot you before they taste you. So don't dress up as bunny men or clowns and run at cars, because you know you're gonna run into the one crazy redneck who's like got 5 shotguns in the back and he's gonna blow your ass away. So just leave that to the actual Bunny Man ghost. All right.
Yeah. Because if he's shot, it won't hurt him the same way that it'll hurt you. So just take that into consideration.
You know what I think of when you say Bunny Man too? I always think of like the image that pops into my mind, which is probably nothing like what the Bunny Man is supposed to be, is the Donnie Darko character, you know, with the giant demented rabbit face.
Oh, yeah.
The Donnie Darko keeps saying. Every time you say the Bunny Man, I imagine Frank, the Donnie Darko guy.
That's so much better than what I think. Because when I think of the Bunny Man, I just think it finally happened. Ralphie from the Christmas Story went nuts.
Yeah, because it's like you would imagine him in like a pink suit with his little face cut out and like
glasses.
Yeah, like white poofy balls down the belly or something, not very scary. But I imagine the face sticking out of that costume would be the demented face of a dead mental patient covered in blood from when he got hit by the train. Because, bunnies get hit by trains too. Um, it's a pretty interesting story. Because it's a ghost, and you know how I feel about a lot of ghostly, supernatural type things, I'm going to have to give this one a nay because, it's a ghost and I don't believe in ghosts. So it kind of rules out my whole. Now, I'm willing to be shown, as James Randi would say. I'm willing to be shown it's this, and I would believe it if there was no trickery behind it.
It could be a zombie bunny.
Well, I guess it would be a zombie bunny, right? Unless, it's a dead guy.
You're gonna tell everyone you don't believe in zombies now too?
Well, actually, I would probably be more willing to believe in a zombie because at least there is the Haitian thing, where they made zombies. So you could say that zombies technically did exist or maybe even do exist. But yeah, ghosts I'm not sold on yet. But the Bunny Man story is a really interesting one. And we got a couple more interesting cryptid stories for you.
What do you got next?
The next story that I have is one from New Jersey. We're leaving Virginia. Say goodbye to Virginia, Zach. We're not coming back.
Good riddance.
Oh, God. Sorry.
I'm just joking, everyone. If you're from Virginia, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Virginia is a great place, but there are too many flying monsters and bunny men with axes there. So we're going to leave Virginia behind momentarily, and we're going to go to the southern area of New Jersey. And I'm going to show you a photo, and then and this photo allegedly captures this cryptid in its natural element. And then after that, we're going to talk about it. All right, ready to see this photo?
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay. Now, that photo makes me chuckle because it looks like one of those miniature horses with wings. But that photo allegedly represents the Jersey Devil, also known as the Leeds Devil. It kind of looks like a dog too, with wings and horns.
It looks like somebody hucked a goat in the air. Took a picture.
Yeah, like they just pasted some wings and some horns on a like a goat or a dog and just threw them up and was like, "Hey Melba, capture this! Hey Melba, get your cell phone out!" Okay, so that's the Jersey Devil. Now, the Jersey Devil has a long and storied history, and it's actually pretty interesting because you can see the evolution of this particular creature in terms of where it came from. It's said to inhabit the Pine Barrens, which is an area in southern New Jersey. It's also known, as I said before, as the Leeds Devil, and I will tell you why it's known as the Leeds Devil. Because according to legend, many centuries ago, in New Jersey, there was a man named Tony Soprano. No, many centuries ago, in New Jersey, there was supposedly a woman named Mary Leeds, also known as Mother Leeds. You know why she was called Mother Leeds? Because she had 12 children.
Jesus Christ.
I'll tell you what, she had 12 children, and she had a 13th on the way. And wow. as any rational woman with 12 children who realizes she's pregnant would say, she's like, fuck, I don't want another kid. And so she decided to curse the 13th child because, it's the 13th. And because she's had it up to here with these fucking kids. And so she curses this child, and the day it's born, it comes out looking perfectly normal. And then after a few moments, it turns into a kangaroo with wings. It has horns. It has cloven hooves. It has a forked tail. It turns into the Leeds Devil. And then it kills the midwife. And it over to the chimney. And up the chimney it goes and it flies away to terrorize the area for centuries to come. Now that is the mythological story of where the Jersey Devil came from. There is actually an even more plausible story that was around the same time period, okay? And it's the story of a guy named Daniel Leeds. Not a woman, not Mary, but a real guy who existed named Daniel Leeds. And Daniel Leeds was a Quaker. And he did almanacs, you know, for farmers and stuff. And he used to print these things. But the problem was when he printed them, he started to print them with occult symbols in them, or what was deemed by the locals as occult or pagan symbols. And it was really just astrological symbols. And he published one in 1687 that is particularly particularly controversial amongst the Quakers in his community because it had many of these astrological symbols in it. And basically, the church or the Quakers decided that, you know what, this is evil, this is pagan, we have to get rid of it. And they burned all the books and they called him, you know, an evil guy. And he had some other things going against him in the community. He was always sort of ostracized, a bit of a loner, a black sheep. And, you know, and then it's said that they called this man, Daniel Leeds, the Leeds Devil, because they thought he was basically a Satanist because of these almanacs he published. Now, that appears to me to be the original source of the name the Leeds Devil, not a creature with cloven hooves and wings and horns that looks like a miniature pony flying through the air. But an actual man with a bad reputation from the late 1600s. It's also worth noting that Daniel Leeds, the Leeds family, their family crest, has something on it that looks like the Jersey Devil. It's a sort of a kangaroo sort of looking thing, and it looks like what the Jersey Devil was later described as looking like. So the idea is that perhaps the name the Leeds Devil came from the man, Daniel Leeds, and that the image of the Leeds Devil or the Jersey Devil came from the crest, his family crest, a little creature that appeared on the crest, which to me sounds like a plausible story of how a legend like this could get born, and you know, over time evolve into something different. Now, there are many people who claim to have seen not Daniel Leeds, not his ghost, but that creature with the cloven hooves and the wings. And obviously that gentleman caught it on on camera there in that picture I showed you. As far back as 1820, a man named Joseph Bonaparte. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Do you know why that sounds familiar?
Because
do what? What'd you say?
Napoleon.
Yes, Napoleon. It was Napoleon's older brother. He lived in New Jersey.
Oh.
And he claimed to have seen this Jersey Devil on his land and to have tried to kill it. So going back as far as 1820 with Napoleon's brother, who I'm sure was taller, there have been reports of the actual Jersey Devil creature. Now, in January of 1909, there was actually sort of like the Mothman. There was a whole string of sightings of this Jersey Devil. It supposedly attacked a trolley car with people on it. It supposedly attacked a gentleman's club over in Camden. And this became such a big deal that the locals actually put out a reward for the creature, a $10,000 reward for people to bring in this creature. Now, this is real. That's a true story. So they actually thought this creature was attacking in 1909. This, of course, led to many hoaxes, because obviously if you put out a $10,000 reward on something, it's going to start showing up, whether it's the Jersey Devil or not.
If that was me, man, if I was in New Jersey with that, I'd be like, hey, Jimmy, give me a miniature horse with some wings, I'll glue that to it, and we give 10 grand, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I'm sure that's exactly how they talked back then in 1909. But yeah, I mean that's exactly right because all these people started pulling out these fucking Jersey Devils and saying, "Hey, look, I got a Jersey Devil here, 10 grand right here in my hand." Well, nobody was ever impressed enough by these carcasses to give anybody 10 grand, and the sightings diminished. But it's an interesting story. Like I say, it's very similar to the Mothman, but unlike the Mothman, you can kind of see the evolution of this myth through the years. And I think the Daniel Leeds thing with the Quakers is a very interesting piece of history that probably the modern legend owes a lot to. What do you think, Zach?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a great image of a baby turning into a miniature horse with wings. I mean, that's a cool story. But I do agree that the other story, the other version, sounds more believable. And so I will say, yay to the story of the man, the Quaker, nay to the miniature horse.
Yeah, I think that I would have to go the same way. Daniel Leeds is probably the originator of this story, whether he wanted to be or not, and
Yeah.
the Leeds devil there. And but yeah, the creature I don't buy into. I'm very amused by the photograph of the creature, but I don't think that there is such a thing as a Jersey Devil in the Pine Barrens. There have been many movies made about this. There was even a very famous X-Files episode from the very first season. It was one of the first episodes of the X-Files ever. So the legend endures, and I think before we move on any further, we could probably talk a little bit about this idea of monsters in the woods. A lot of the cryptid things center around the idea of something dark in the woods, whether it be the Mothman or the Jersey Devil or even the Bunny Man, the idea of something out there in nature that's dark and unknown that's going to come and, do you harm somehow. I mean, if you go, and those stories are everywhere, everything from the movie The Witch to the Blair Witch, a lot of witches in the woods. But yeah, I think there may be a basic kind of human fear of darkness out there.
Don't go
And
into the woods because there just might be a guy with a lamb mask and a crossbow.
that's right. Or Ralphie with an axe, which is even more frightening than me, I think. Because they'll beat you to death with the axe and then like put that leg lamp right in the hole and just like because the cops walk up and there's like a body with like a bunch of axe wounds and then a fucking leg lamp sticking out of it.
That'd be awesome.
I turned my victim into a leg lamp. But yeah, I think a lot of these legends do come from primal fears, and of course, there's always the fear of being hunted by some strange wild animal that you've never seen that's going to kill you or your children, and it originating back in a time when nature was well, I guess nature is always possibly a threat. But back then, it was man was tooth and nail. You either killed your food and put it on the table, or you starved. So I think that goes back to a lot of where these stories originate. But off of that subject, we can move on now to the next story. I suppose I could show the picture first, Zach, and you could tell, your story around it. You want to do it that way?
Let's do it. Look at that crazy SOB.
All right, let me see. Let me look at that. That appears to be a man in a very stylish robe floating around a Johnny Cash Ring of Fire. Am I correct?
Yep.
All right.
And in the 1970s, a journalist from Germany named Rock Ulsa went to Africa to study shamanism. Well, he was told that a lot of these shamans are fake and they're frauds. And so he was brought to this shaman which this is actually a still photo of, there's an actual video of him floating around a ring of fire. Now, I this one is very interesting for me because I'm a magician. I mean, some people know that. I mean, opposed to acting and other things that I do, I am a magician. I do street magic. I've been doing magic for years.
Right.
Um,
And we've talked about that on the show.
yes, yes, we have. And as the point of view of a magician, I think this guy is full of shit. Honestly, I've been performing street magic for years, and I know and I don't want to expose any secrets or anything like that, but people have the idea of when you see a person outside like that, that there's no way that they can levitate using something to help them do it. Because when you're inside of like a stage or an arena, there's like, you can hang like a wire above and lift yourself up. And I mean, but when you're outside, it throws that off. But obviously, magicians have been levitating on the streets for a long time. And for someone to think that a shaman in Africa can't do the same thing, I mean, this is something that I should probably, a lot of people don't know this, but magicians have been for centuries have been going to other countries and learning new techniques and learning new things. And that's how magic works. And honestly, I've seen some amazing stuff from other countries. So this guy is really good at what he does, but I'm not convinced that he's really floating. I honestly think that the fire is misdirection. He's using the ring of fire as misdirection, and he's using the fact that an ignorant, well, I don't mean ignorant, but I mean like he's looking at it as a dumb American. He doesn't know what I'm doing. I can pull one over on him, and doesn't mean we all like that. But obviously, this man he claimed that he really saw this shaman levitate. But I don't.
Now I have a question for that. Did the shaman, did he ask for money?
Yes, and that's what makes me think that it was a scam. Because if he was just showing him or something like that, no, that doesn't mean that it wasn't a scam if he was just showing him. But I have learned, this is a little off subject, but this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. There's been for centuries a practice called psychic surgery where people claim that they can remove a tumor or something from your body without ever cutting you open.
Yes, I've heard of this.
And magicians have performed it. I have performed this act. So I know, and they always want money. They want as much money as they possibly can to prove it, to show you a miracle. And I honestly think the shaman is no different. I think that he's trying to show you a miracle, but for the small price of a fee to show you that miracle.
And the problem with a lot of these miracles, in quotation marks, is that you have people who go to these things and actually put, their faith into it being real. And then they have something like, say, the psychic surgery, and they come back thinking they're cured, and they don't take their medicine because it's like, I saw the guy, he pulled it right out of my stomach and threw it away. Obviously, he didn't. But, that's why I asked the question about money, because here's kind of my opinion. If it's something that is specifically for entertainment, and it's an illusion, like what you do as an illusionist, it's fine to get paid for it. It's great. It's entertainment. It's like movies are an illusion. You get paid for it. It's the artistry the artistry in the show is what you're paying for. But when you have people who claim to do miracles and then charge you for them, and steal your health or your use your faith against you, then that's a kind of a horse of a different color, in my opinion. And
people gotta watch out for that stuff here in America, because you think that it only happens in other countries, but we have a huge problem. I mean, I honestly hate phony psychics. I mean, again, I read your mind on live feed, and I'm not a psychic. I know trickery. I know great skills to read people's minds, and I know how to do it. But there's a lot of these people that are really trying to convince you that they're shamans or they're psychics, and it's a huge bummer. Now, I do believe in voodoo, and a lot of that stuff is real. People need to wake up, and that stuff's scary and it's freaking real. But I mean, it's just as somebody who's practiced, and when you've done magic for as long as me, you kind of see something done and you're just like, that just looks like a freaking magic trick. Like, he just looked like he pulled an illusion on everyone. And that's how I feel with this guy. I believe that there probably are witches, and there probably are. And I'm not going to take away the idea of there's shaman out there that probably have powers. I don't know. Never met them. But I've noticed that a lot of the ones that publicize themselves or want, like you said, want money, they're so bullshit.
So you think that there's a possibility that there might be this phenomena in life, like that it might really exist?
It actually might. But honestly, it's like, for example, if you have a person that's really psychic, they're not going to publicize it because the fucking government is going to take them and run experiments on them. I mean, let's really face it here. I mean, if we had somebody who really could move stuff with his mind or really do something like that, they're going to be snatched up from the government. I mean, he's going to be levitating freaking Trump's hair wigs for the FBI and stuff, So it's just one of those things that it's just, I do think it's real, but I think a lot of the people that want money and publicize it is bullshit.
Well, and two, we have to remember back in the 70s and the early 80s, there were a lot of like really legit experiments, and a lot of people just going ahead and saying that things like telekinesis and telepathy did exist, that they just accepted it as a scientific fact, which if we think back on it now, that sounds crazy. But if you go back and read books from the period, and I'm not talking about just novels, I'm talking about like scientific research papers, there were an awful lot of people that and I'm talking scientists who actually believed that telekinesis was a legitimate phenomenon and that they had proof of it.
This is, again, I'm a magician, and I've posted telekinesis tricks on the internet. And it's not to make a joke about it. I think it's kind of sad, but I've actually had people email me, message me, ask me to teach them my methods of telekinesis. They said that they've never met anybody who has the powers that I do and that can really move objects with the power of their mind. And they want me to teach them the concentration it takes to move an object. And I don't want to take away their belief if they really believe in that, but I'm not a scam artist. So I have to tell them I'm a magician. I don't move things with my mind. I make it appear that I do, but I'm not telling you my secrets. But it's kind of sad on some level that even in 2019, you have people that are straight up convinced. And I'm sorry if any of you think that, I'm not saying it's fake, if any of you believe that it's real. But if you see a magician do it, or if you see it on TV or in Vegas, it's not real. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Are you telling me that Chris Angel uses a crane?
Actually, no, he uses the power of his abs. He uses the power of those baby oiled abs, and he levitates up. No, but he uses the power of camera cuts.
Yeah. Well, but if it's on TV, man, it's got to be real. Come on. Are you telling me? You just broke my little lammy heart.
What's that?
I said you just broke my little lammy heart.
I'm full of disappointments, but guess what? That's what magicians are. We're full of disappointments.
Yeah, and of course I don't really believe that Chris Angel is levitating. I'm just being facetious. But
he has destroyed a lot of people's hopes and dreams.
Yes, yeah, the Chris Angel fan club. Don't write me. The thing about this too is, and sometimes I think about it because you have people who I think it may. I mean, I know we're kind of going off the subject of creatures because now we're talking about psychics. But just to put this in there, because I was thinking about it, I don't want to forget. I I think there may be even a difference between the people who are obviously doing it for money and the people who just want to believe something. I mean, there are some people who will argue a skeptic like myself down just to prove that they actually can say douse for oil or water, which is where you hold the forked stick and you walk around, and then it moves and it tells you, oh, there's oil down here. Let's start digging. And then a lot of people put credence into that. And a lot of people just want to really believe that they have some sort of special power. I go back and forth about whether or not I think that that should be, if you're doing it for money and you're just trying to cheat people and you're using their grief against you, I think you're a real piece of shit.
Yep.
But if you just want to believe something is special about yourself when it's really not, I don't know that I necessarily see the harm in that.
I agree.
But it's something, too, I go back and forth with because I think, it's still a deception, even if it's a self-deception. But it's sort of like other things that we could talk about, but we're not going to, where, if somebody really wants to believe, there's nothing you can say to change their mind.
Like, I never tell anybody when they ask me to teach them my psychic powers. I never tell people that psychics aren't real, because who am I to tell them that psychics aren't real? I tell them that I am not a psychic. I'm a magician. I'm an illusionist. I am one of the best bullshitters you'll ever meet. But that's because I've studied. That doesn't mean that I have powers. But I don't ever want to take that away from anyone, because if you believe in psychic powers, then that's awesome.
I still think you're psychic because you read my mind that time.
I'm just a badass.
Yeah. No, again, I'm being facetious, but yeah, I think there's, but yeah, like I said, we kind of strayed off the cryptids thing, but
I do believe in witches. I do think that there are probably dark forces out there. I really do. But I do feel like this man, this shaman, is a 100%, shaman bullshitter.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I don't buy the shaman floating, but I like his robe. Looks awesome.
I need to get a robe like that. That's dope.
Yeah, and June Carter would love his surroundings. Now, on that note, let me just go ahead and say we've had a really interesting show today. I think we've covered 4 cryptids very, very quickly. And I know we probably left out some details, but hey, it's just an hour show. What can you do? But I always enjoy talking about these sorts of things, whether I believe in them or not. I think a lot of you know where I stand on a lot of this kind of supernatural, creature-y type stuff. But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be talked about, because why the hell not? It's a free country. But I will tell you when I think it's bullshit. And unfortunately, I think today I said bullshit 4 times.
Yep.
And I think you gave like, what, 3.5?
Yeah, I gave 3.5. I mean, honestly, I think everything we were talking about is bullshit. But at the same time, like the Jersey Devil, I believe in the original myth. I think that could possibly happen. And then I do believe that there's probably witches and stuff like that. I mean, if there's voodoo and stuff and hoodoo and all kinds of weird, scary stuff out there, why the hell wouldn't there, be real shamans with powers and real witches out there and stuff? I mean, but in this case, I think that we just caught a bullshitter on camera. Point
taken, and very, very well put. So did you have a good time today, Zach? I know I had fun this last hour.
I had a blast. This was a very, very, very fun subject to talk about, and I hope everyone that was watching had a blast.
Yes, I agree. And you guys stick with us. We're going to have some more cool shows coming up. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And until next week, I want you all to take care of yourselves.